Are you guys good?
Yeah, did you want the TV on?
Ski. Yeah, if one looks stuff up.
Yeah. Oh, you guys turn it. Are you like hooked up to it?
Yeah. We're good.
What is it today?
Chloe, I bought this nuclear submarine from the Russians, and it's gone kapootin! Also, can you tell me why this
Did you say it's gone
flashing the sign that says pasta nose?
This is a Pasnost! It's Russian for danger!
That's a shame. I really wanted to try the pasta.
You're having a meltdown!
No, I'm just a little disappointed. A hot bath and some dark chocolate, and I'll be fine!
It's done! Time for nurse call!
What made it even funnier is like he knew every line of that song.
Oh my god, dude. Dude, he literally 1000% bumps that rolling into school every single day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he has a 2-minute commute, so it's probably like
One song.
I guarantee you, it's
Never
probably
thought of
like
it like
exactly like
One song.
the exact time it takes for him to leave his driveway to like get to the parking lot there.
Then he gets one song and he's like, this is a good song. I'm
Yeah.
gonna play it here, I'm gonna play it on the way back, I'm gonna play it here, on the way back.
Alright kids, how we doing today?
Ski. I wonder if he's ever gotten his kids to be like, yo, everybody give me a ski.
100%, dude. I would love to be a fly on the wall in this class.
I would be horrified having Dean teach my children.
You guys are ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready to rock.
Hello, hello.
Is it good?
Yeah, you're going.
Alright, we're back, ready to roll. We officially concluded the first week of football, so that's always exciting. How you doing, Sila?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Love to hear that. We can jump right into it because I feel like we got a lot of stuff to cover today. We can talk about the UFC card 293 from this past weekend. Pretty big upset, but if you want to just give us your full, rundown on the entire card.
I mean, for the most part, there were many big fights. It was just in Australia, so they put all the Australians on one card. The co-main event was Tai Tuivasa versus Alexander Volkov, and Tuivasa got choked out. So that was really the only other fight besides Izzy and Sean Strickland. And to about everybody's surprise, Sean Strickland somehow won, and it was not close. Like every punch Izzy threw, Strickland blocked it. Just had the defense on lock, and the champion. I think it was like a plus 600 dog.
Yeah, I heard that it was crazy odds for him. Obviously, like that was like one of the biggest differences in odds going into a championship fight like that. Like, in UFC history, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's pretty crazy that he came up on top. And of course, I mean, in any respect, like especially with the UFC, you're always talking mad shit going into it. But I feel like his ended up being justified, at least, to an extent with it. I know he was on the Nuff podcast right before he ended up fighting.
Yeah, he's a decent fighter, good fighter. I wouldn't say he's the best middleweight in the world, but
yeah, I mean
as of now he is.
I doubt that he's gonna hold that title for very long, right?
No, I have a feeling as long as Izzy doesn't do what he did in the first fight, he'll beat him in the rematch. But that's even if I'm assuming they would, because Izzy has had that belt forever. The other thing about Strickland is like that is not a guy that I think the UFC really wants to be like, we have this guy as a belt holder, because he says some wild shit.
Yeah, he's
like
definitely
wild shit.
He definitely says some out of pocket shit for sure. He was just like, some of the clips that I saw from that podcast I was referring to, like it was just, what are you saying? It was just like so cringe.
Dude, everything. And no matter what, he talks like that. He's always like, if someone's disrespect you, you're gonna have to murder them. He always talks about how I mean, this part's pretty cool, like, which I do respect. He's like, if I didn't have the UFC, he said it after his fight. If I didn't have the UFC, he was like, I'd probably be cooking meth in a trailer park or in jail for murder, or in prison for murder. And honestly, I completely believe him because that dude is crazy. Like, he found an outlet for that, whatever the fuck is going on in his head, and good for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it all worked out in his favor, I guess, and for the time being, he is the belt holder, so we'll see how that plays out in the coming fights. But I agree, I don't think that he's going to hold that for very long. We can jump into. We also had. I mean, this is a little while ago, but Victor Hovland ended up winning the FedEx Championship, which was pretty cool. I never realized how young he actually is. He's like our age or younger.
He's younger than us.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I know his name's been around for a while. I just never realized that he's that young. So that's pretty cool for him to win such a big championship. I mean, between that and then the cup, like preceding it or right before it, I think he dropped fucking one bag during that entire thing. I forget which is the one right before it that kind of helps with the rankings of this.
Oh, when they were in Illinois, I forgot what the.
Yeah, I forget what the actual name of it is, but he won that as well, which helped him with the rankings going into this, and I mean, he ended up coming up on top. So I don't know. Did you see the whole thing with like? I don't know if this was actually real or not, but like the Tinder profile of him.
Yeah. I mean, it had to check. I'm assuming it's real.
I'm assuming it's real too. I think it was fucking hysterical.
And it makes sense because like 4 of the 6 pictures were like him playing golf, and like the other 2 were just like him with his friends. And it's like, if I was a PGA Tour guy, I would do the same exact thing.
It'd be the exact same thing. Yeah, I mean, you gotta play enjoy making you money right now, making you famous. So why not? That's fucking hysterical.
Man, I always find that interesting though. Like, those guys still gotta use Tinder.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they have Raya, so you could be on that too, but I guess if you just want to try to get a quick, little quickie there, that's probably where you're going to go. We could also jump into the U.S. Open. That just concluded this past Sunday over in Queens, which is pretty sick. I actually have never really been big into tennis, but I feel it's a pretty cool experience from what everyone's told me. I definitely would want to try and go maybe next year.
100%. I said I wanted to go this year, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we should definitely try and check that out next year because it seems like such a cool atmosphere. I know that's the biggest tennis arena in the world, so just the entire environment is just all catered towards that, and it's a really cool experience. Who ended up technically winning that again? It was
For the men's, it was Novak Djokovic. Dennis Medvedev.
And I forgot the whole thing with him too is that he wasn't even allowed to play last year, right? Because he technically wasn't vaccinated. I'm pretty sure I saw something about that.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I'm almost positive it's him, but he wasn't allowed to participate in last year's championship or whatever, or just like the tournament because he wasn't vaccinated.
Really?
And then the irony of it is that this year the tournament was sponsored by Moderna, and literally like they would always have like shot of the day, like it was like Moderna shot of the day.
Oh, it'd be fucking joke. But yeah, he beat Medvedev, who actually upset Carlos Alvarez, who's like 23 years old. He's the
like,
number 1 player in the world right now. But yeah, good for Djokovic. And then for the women's, which is interesting, Coco Gauff beat. Who the hell was it? What the hell was her name? It's always the craziest names.
Yeah, no, they have some crazy names in tennis. They're all foreign.
I don't wanna fuck it up. I have to look it up here. Arina Sabalenka.
Arina Sabalenka. Okay.
Yeah.
Where's she from? What's that? I'm assuming it's like some Norwegian.
Who's got the green and red flag?
Green and red flag. That might be Moroccan. I'm not 100% sure on that though, so I might be butchering that.
I don't know, but yeah, Coco Gauff won. She's 19 years old.
Holy shit, that's actually nuts.
Yeah. Somebody asked her, they were like, yo, what are you gonna do with the winning? Are you gonna pay off some debts? She's like, pay off debts? She was like, I live with my parents. She's like, I don't have any debts. She was like, I live with my parents and play tennis. She was like, that's all I do.
That's actually so crazy. Can you imagine being 19 years old and like being on that stage?
She's- I'm pretty sure she's been playing since she's like 16.
No, probably.
Because
I'm assuming.
I remember her for years now.
Yeah, she definitely didn't just come on the stage, but I mean, just in general, like being like a teenage phenom like that, it just must be nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, she's pretty good.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. Not too much to talk about in terms of the NBA, but there was some
Off the
pretty big
court.
news. Yeah, off the court at least. There was some news with Kevin Porter Jr. I don't know if you want to dive into what happened there.
So apparently it was like early morning. They had, he beat his wife or his girlfriend. Early morning, like 2, 3 in the morning. There's video of him walking down the hotel room, walking down the hotel hallway into his hotel room, and 2 minutes later, his girlfriend's running out, bleeding. Apparently, he choked her. And I want to say also punched her because he fractured one of the vertebrae in her neck.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, so he's probably hopefully going to jail for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Hopefully he gets cut by the Rockets.
I think he already did get cut.
I don't think so as of now because they're like, we're gonna let this situation play out because if they cut him, they owe him like $16 million. And I would assume that if you get in trouble for some shit, they can cut you and still be like, we're not gonna pay you.
Yeah, I would assume there's got to be some sort of clause within the contracts for that because otherwise it'd be pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that. Like she was like asleep when it all happened too. Like when
Yeah,
it
she
started.
was literally sleeping and
Yeah.
he just apparently started just like strangling her and beating the shit out of her.
What happened there? That's absolutely crazy. I mean,
And
hopefully
she
those
was
people are
actually
good.
a WNBA player.
Yeah, you're saying that. That's pretty wild.
I'm not even gonna try to attempt to
Yeah,
pronounce
no,
her
I
name.
don't
It's
know how to pronounce her name
so
either, but
crazy.
feel for her, man. That's definitely pretty fucked up, and hopefully she gets her justice. He goes away for a bit.
Yeah, the other thing is, he's like 23 years old, not even. He might be 21.
Yeah, just
Idiots.
fucking focus on playing basketball and stop doing shit like that. But yeah, I feel like that's really the gist of it for the NBA. I mean, we do have the season coming up quick. I mean, we only have a couple more months, so as the preseason and stuff like that starts to happen, we can definitely start diving in a little bit more in depth with that.
Oh, one thing, not so much NBA related. I'm watching. Here's her about Winning Time.
No,
It's
what's
about the Lakers, Showtime Lakers.
Oh, okay.
It's literally all about like it starts with like the year Magic Johnson gets drafted, and it's basically like the whole career. Fantastic acting. They're like very, very close to like as much as like what happened. Like it's very on par with the truth. Like it's not like they're swaying away and like adding shit to the story. It's gotten to the point where it's like they're showing Larry Bird a lot, and the rivalry between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson looked incredible. Larry Bird was a fucking killer, and Magic Johnson was just like the greatest guy. So it was just like two complete opposites who were just sick at basketball going at it.
Yeah, it must have been a crazy era. I mean, obviously that was a crazy era in basketball, but to be able to witness that firsthand probably would have been nuts.
Oh yeah.
What is that streaming on?
HBO. Definitely.
HBO always got the best.
Definitely check that out.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely look into that. Also, something I was going to throw out there, but just in general, this is more of like a personal thing. I saw that depending on when we go to Orlando for a golf trip, we're going to be able to hit a Magic game. So either weekend will be good. They're both probably horrible games because I think the Magic suck, and the other two teams that were
Do you know the other
coming
two
in,
teams?
it was the I have it up on my phone right now. I was just texting Dennis about it.
Because honestly, I would prefer the shittiest teams because they would be the cheapest tickets.
Oh, dude,
So
the
like,
tickets literally said they started like $20.
yeah. Last year I remember looking and it was dumb cheap.
Yeah, it was Wizards
Oh yeah.
and Cavaliers. So
Fantastic.
yeah, both of them literally say tickets started like $20.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I guess in that case, I'd rather just see the Cavaliers because you see Mitchell play, but
Yeah, they're better. Definitely a better team.
yeah. Well, actually, didn't the Wizards just get somebody too recently? Didn't they?
I mean, they got Jordan Poole.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
He
that's.
plays like he did last
I
year.
think I'd rather see Mitchell.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that Cavaliers team is good,
Yeah, they're pretty
Granted.
good. Yeah.
but they're still playing Ohio, so.
Yeah, thanks. Alright, we can jump into the juicier stuff now. I know we got a lot to talk about with MLB. I guess we could just kind of go through some major milestones that have happened within the past few weeks. I mean, first off, Aaron Judge back playing healthy. He's now the fastest player to 250 home runs, which is pretty crazy. I mean, it's just unfortunate that obviously how late into his career he is in terms like age wise.
True.
So I don't know if he's actually ever going to like be able to break a home run record, but it is still an awesome feat for him.
And the other crazy thing is he's played in, I want to say, 90 games this year. 90 games, 31 home runs.
That's nuts.
I'm pretty sure he's still top 10 in home runs.
Yeah,
Literally.
I'm sure it is. Yeah,
2/3 of the games these other guys have played. Just wild.
that's actually nuts. Yeah, he's just such a beast. I'm hopefully, I know he still had playoff hopes this year. It's not realistic. I mean, there's a lot of
No,
factors.
they officially got mathematically eliminated last night.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Oh,
with the
shit.
since the Orioles won, they're mathematically eliminated.
All right, well there it is. I mean, I guess still playing just for dignity and not to be sub 500. So hopefully,
That's the craziest thing. They haven't been sub 500 in like 30 years.
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I know they're sitting at 500 right now, like as of today. So, and they were beating Boston, I believe it was. Right
Yeah, they're up
before this.
3-1, I think,
Yeah,
currently.
so, trending in a better direction with that. And
2-1.
I guess just in general, there's a lot of hope, it seems like, going forward. I mean, you can kind of dive deeper into like the young core that we've brought up.
Yeah, they finally called the kids up.
Yeah, they finally called the kids up. I'll let you speak on all of that further, but I also just wanted to shout out Stan because he got to the 400 home run milestone. I think that was pretty good for him. And I mean, I wouldn't put it out of the picture for him to be able to hit the 500. I mean, I know hasn't been the healthiest player, so it might be a little tough, but 100 isn't out of the question for him, I would say.
Yes and no. If he was to play 5 more years and still hit 20 home runs, which is like awful for him, that's 100 right there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like his body, odds are will shit out on him. And just like the way he played this year, it's not very inspiring.
Yeah, no.
So it's not like seeming like, oh, maybe he's still like there are times where it's like this guy has nothing left.
Yeah, no, it seems like he doesn't have nearly as much care to actually play the game as he once did.
Yeah,
So,
but it's crazy because like last year seems like night and day, like a complete difference. I mean, also he didn't do as good last year, but yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's
Hopefully he gets
something
it.
we'll keep watch on. I mean,
It would be cool.
it's probably that whole atmosphere just in the dugout in general. I mean, when you're the first Yankees team that's fighting to stay above 500 and like out of the playoff race this early, I mean, it's definitely a tough pill to swallow. So hopefully we just bounce back better next year. I mean, I'll let you now just go into that young core that they finally called up. I mean, we look good from that perspective with like all the young players.
For the 1 week, they were all actually up here.
Yeah.
So Pereira was up here, Everson Pereira. Jose Peraza has been up before. They called him back up, but they finally called up Boston Wells and Jason Dominguez. I don't think Wells was our 2 prospect. I want to say he was our 3 or 4, but Dominguez was our number 1 prospect. Played in, I want to say 12 games in AAA, and they were like, all right, you're good to go, ready to go, call you up. Yeah, everything about him seemed legit until he tore his UCL and has to get Tommy John now, but yeah.
I mean, we were on a crazy win streak with all of them there, man. I mean,
He homered in his first game. I think he had 4 home runs in his first 5 or 6 games, which was the fastest any Yankees ever done that. Yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, no, he's looking good. I mean, how do you feel about our future with all that young core? Hopefully, going into next season, I guess. Do you think like there's any pieces that we certainly need to add in free agency or trades for, or like you kind of comfortable with how the team would be shaping up going into it?
I mean, it would always be nice to get like 1 or 2 guys just to be like, yeah, we have them. Because at the same time, like if you're going into a season with all these kids, like your expectations are not going to be like it's not World Series, which I guess was what you're going for with the Yankees. Like, you gotta, I guess as a Yankees, like, you have to be World Series or bust. Like, you can't be like, oh yeah, we're just looking to make the playoffs, we're still gonna be decent.
Yeah, no, it's definitely World Series or bust. I mean, I guess that plays into the question of like, what happens with Ohtani, right? I mean, are the Yankees gonna make that push for him? Because just going to the whole Angels organization in general, they're a shit franchise. I mean, they always have been pretty much for the entirety of Trout's career. But they finally gave Trout the okay to seek a trade if he wants to, which I think is a sign that they're just not even going to really make the push for Ohtani then, if that's the case. I mean, he's obviously a generational player, but are they going to really worry about like signing a player of that caliber to that kind of contract when they can't even put a winning season together ever?
Yeah,
So,
they're not going to do that. They already gave up, waved the white flag.
which is just so unfortunate as like a franchise in general when you had the opportunity to just trade him and get like such a haul. I mean, it's mind blowing to me. But yeah, I guess we'll see how that all plays out. But I mean, going back to it, I mean, we've talked about it before. I think that the Yankees can still be in the picture for him. I mean, obviously they're going to have to be willing to pay him what market value is going to be, or even more. But I mean, it's really going to end up being, I feel like, a race between them, the Dodgers, and Seattle, realistically.
I can almost guarantee Ohtani stays on the West Coast.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest thing when it comes to the Japanese players. Like that especially that 3-hour difference, like just being as close as possible to Japan is like that's close to home.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. You never know, though, because there have been some players that actually came to the Yankees or even, Mets, Red Sox, so.
Whenever they do come though, they start their careers here.
Fair.
That's how it works. If you don't start your career here, you're never gonna want to come over here.
Yeah.
Which is why the Yankees are gonna actually try to sign this new kid out of Japan.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what his name is. Yeah, he pitched a no-hitter like last week.
Oh, damn. That's pretty crazy. Yes, I mean, I guess we'll see what all happens with that. I mean, if this actually ever did happen, like, where could you even see Trout going? I mean, that would be absurd.
Honestly, the Braves. No, I have no idea. I can't see anybody having enough to trade for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough depending on what you got going on in the farm system. You pretty much have to deplete that. But I've been seeing rumors about like potentially like Phillies, which would be pretty nuts. Imagine
He is from Philly.
Yeah, him and Harper teaming up. I feel like everybody would be behind that.
Yeah, if he would want to go anywhere, I bet he would be Philly.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I guess we'll see how the off season plays out with that. It's pretty nuts. It's just so disappointing. I can't imagine being an Angels fan, but I guess the Yankees aren't in any better place right now either. So.
Yeah, we just got a little taste of it though. It's just like 1 year of this.
Yeah, really.
They've been doing that for fucking a decade.
But I guess we could kind of just jump into, I don't know, what else do we think we should cover for MLB? We want to just jump into like standings, playoff hopes, and stuff like that?
Yeah, pretty much. But we could also talk about how Trey Turner had his baby.
Oh yeah, so I mean that's a pretty crazy story. So exactly 9 months after he signed his $300 million contract, he ends up going on paternity leave.
The even crazier part is, ever since he got back from that, he has been the best player in baseball.
Oh yeah, no, literally, I've been seeing that too. I mean, that's the crazy thing about baseball. You can go through your peaks and valleys and stuff like that. I mean, I know he hasn't been the best player this year. Everyone was questioning whether or not he was going to be worth that contract, but I think at the end of the day, he's still that player that they signed him for, and this is probably going to work out perfect timing wise as they head into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, the Phillies are going to be hot. I think he had the kid the 5th, I want to say, September 5th. Ever since then, he's 8 for. Let's do math real quick. He's 8 for 18 runs, 7 RBIs, and 1 stolen base.
Yeah, I mean, those are pretty solid numbers for sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is
that strength now.
yeah. If he's able to fucking carry this through into the postseason, I mean, that's all you can really ask for with that kind of contract and just like the caliber of the player he is. So they were in the World Series last year, right? So you never know. We'll see how it all plays out. I guess we can also just before we even get into like standings and playoff hopes and stuff like that, and the playoff race. I also think it was pretty crazy the whole Alex Manoah situation. He got designated down to AAA, and he just decided not to.
Yeah, he just didn't show up.
Yeah.
He was just like, fuck this. I mean, that's definitely not good when it comes to character
No,
of the
yeah.
player. But it was like, nobody even knew about this until a few days ago. People just kind of thought he was down there, just like throwing bullpens on the side. But it turns out he just never reported. He just pretty much ghosted them.
Yeah, I mean, you know he's not going to be with the organization after this next year, so we'll see what happens with his career. I mean, obviously he's been playing like shit regardless, so I don't even know who's really going to want to gamble on him, but I mean, I guess you never know, you might want to just sign him to...
I mean, he was in the Cy Young contention last year.
Yeah, no, I mean, he definitely
1 year
has
is
it
great.
in him, but again, I mean, you could always be that 1 year wonder, right? So
Yeah, true.
we'll see what happens. He'll probably end up getting a contract minimum somewhere for a team that's kind of like in a show me situation. If it ends up doing well, great. If not, then they can just release him, trade him to another organization. So we'll see how that all plays out. I guess, is there any other things before we jump into the actual like standings and playoffs?
We can mention Julio Urias for the Dodgers. He just got, I don't know if he got arrested, but he got suspended for his second domestic violence case or whatever.
What do you do this time?
It was actually after one of like the Messi had a charity soccer game. I'm pretty sure his wife or his girlfriend was with him after the game, and they were either getting into the Uber, he was getting the Uber, or I don't know what was going on, but he was hitting her before they got in the car. People broke it up, and then like as soon as they got back in the car, he started hitting her again. People were like, we saw him doing this in the car. So
What a skill is
yeah, so that's another guy. Lock him
Yeah.
up, throw away the key.
Yeah, really.
Literally second time. Like what a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, really. That's fucking nuts, man. Yeah, his career with the Dodgers is probably over there too. Oh shit, man. But yeah, I mean, let's just
Probably get the standings.
yeah, we can jump into the standings. So, I mean, I guess how do you see things shaping up?
Nothing's really changed in the past month, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess who has actually clinched the playoffs so far?
No one.
I think then the Braves.
No, not really. There's still like 2 weeks left. Realistically, they can lose every game, and Philly can win every game, and they can make it. But like, that's just numbers wise. Like for the most part, like the Orioles pretty much locked up the East. Braves locked up the East. Who else?
Dodgers, the West. Where they still have the Diamondbacks.
Dodgers are up 12. Oh no, Atlanta did officially clinch.
Yeah,
My
right.
bad, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. It could change. Houston's only up by a game and a half, but like Texas has shit the bed for the past month. Texas was almost up by 7 games at one point.
Seattle's creeping up on them too, no?
Yeah, Seattle's 2.5. I just don't see that changing. The only one I do actually see changing would be the NL Central. Milwaukee's up 3 games. I have a feeling Chicago. They're up 3 games on Chicago. I feel like Chicago will make a run.
Okay. Do you know if they play each other towards this back half of the season? They still have another series where it goes head to head.
The last 2 games of the year.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see how that all shapes up. I didn't realize that Chicago was making a run like that in general.
Yeah. Cody Bellinger's good this year. Justin Steele's a Cy Young candidate. I don't even know. Dansby Swanson's doing good. Yeah, they got a bunch of just like random ass dudes that are solid.
Yeah. I mean, all guys. I mean, besides Steele, I guess, but the other two were, all-stars at one point that just kind of fell off a little bit. So happy to see their careers reviving a little bit, and hopefully they are able to make a playoff push. I feel like the Brewers are probably that staple team though right now in the Central, so we'll see how that all plays out. It's still crazy to me that the Cardinals never turned it around. I mean, like they're going to be below 500 for sure to end the season, and they were just such a great organization. I mean, they're honestly one of those teams like just as surprising as the Yankees were. I mean, they have a lot of World Series wins themselves, titles, so you'd think that they're always going to be in the playoffs. For them to like be this far out and down in the standings is pretty wild, especially in the NL Central where I don't think that they're really ever like the powerhouse division.
No, it's one of the weaker divisions.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like 1 through 9, that lineup looks good.
Yeah, no, really. But sometimes it just doesn't work out.
I guess the pitching is where they got the pitching kind of sucks.
Yeah. So what are the wild card races looking like? I know in the AL, what is it, the Texans, the Rangers, Rays, and
Toronto actually has that last spot.
Toronto.
Seattle's a half game back.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? So I guess with the Baltimore win, the Yankees are technically out of the division.
Okay.
Because they're only 7.5 back of the last wild card spot, which I feel like it's possible.
Yeah, it's definitely realistic.
Yeah.
There's 2 weeks left. I mean, they have to go on a crazy run and hope that
And hope
some of the other
everybody
teams lose.
shits the bed.
It's
yeah.
definitely like not.
Not possible.
It's not realistic, but it's,
Mathematically it is, but and then the NL, Philly and Chicago were the top 2. Arizona has that third one, and then San Francisco and Miami are both 1.5 games back, and Cincinnati's 2 games back of that third spot. That one's going to be up for grabs. I feel like those 4 teams are just going to be fighting that last 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how that all plays out. I mean, I think that for the most part, again, unless like one of these wild card teams really just goes on a crazy run that gives them that like leverage going into the playoffs, that momentum going into the playoffs, I really don't see it being any other teams besides the Braves or the Dodgers on that side. And then same thing on the AL. I mean, I really don't know if anybody's really going to be beating like the Orioles or the Astros on that side. I mean, do you really see like the Twins as being?
No, definitely not the Twins. I feel like the AL is wide open though. Which whoever's going to be hot that last week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think the Braves are going to lose. I mean,
I think
unless
realistically
Philly comes in and knocks them out of the playoffs in the first round again. But
yeah, you never know. But yeah, I think realistically it is going to be the Braves, Dodgers, and the NLCS again. So
yeah,
we'll see how that all turns out. All right, well, I think we can head into the main part of the show now for sure. Finally, we had week 1 over in the NFL. A lot of shit to talk about, I feel like, between contracts, week 1 performances, injuries. So we kind of just start off, I feel like, with the injuries. Pretty crazy. I mean, last night's game, we had the Jets-Bills, and Rodgers literally played a total of 4 snaps and then ended up tearing his Achilles.
Yep.
Which is just an absolute blow for the Jets and the entire franchise. I mean, I just felt in the fan base, everything. I just can't believe that something like that happened.
I can. Oh, that was like my first case scenario. Dude is gonna get hurt week 1. Honestly, I thought he was gonna get hurt before the season even started. Yeah. It's a shame though. Like I would have loved to see him throw balls to Garrett Wilson all season. Yeah. That would have been phenomenal. But yeah, it's the Jets, the goddamn Jets. That dude from Big Daddy's got to be like 40 years old now, and it rings true to this day.
I mean, it is just nuts, dude. Like that is the absolute worst luck you can possibly have. I mean, granted, they pulled together one hell of a win last night. You gotta give them credit to the defense, the run game, and Zach Wilson.
No, shout out Isaiah Whitehead.
I mean, yeah, that
dude set his incentive bonus in the first game.
Yeah.
That's probably the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, right. he fucking beasted it last night. They have a very good defense. I mean, I think
that defense got better from last year, in my opinion.
I think that they're
legit.
gonna hold their own. I think that you could still like throw them in the playoff race, but I don't think that they're by any means a Super Bowl contender.
Well, with Zach Wilson as your quarterback, no.
No.
That's why you just went from Hall of Fame quarterback to shittiest second pick ever.
Literally the odds, like the percentage chances of them making the playoffs after week 1 with Rodgers went from 79% to 22%.
That's wild. I'm actually curious, what are the betting odds? To start the season, I think they were plus 190 to win the division.
Yeah, I mean that's...
And this is including a week 1 win. It's probably, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
Apparently the Jets were asking around, see if any veteran quarterbacks are available.
They're definitely going to be making their rounds. It's tough though because I don't think that there's anybody there that can really be like a savior for the team. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of QBs that are going to be better than Zach Wilson, but I don't think any of them are going to catapult them, obviously, the way that Rodgers was going to. I just don't see it. I mean, I know that Matt Ryan's name is getting thrown into the mix. I really don't know if he's the guy for that.
You know who I personally think is the guy?
No.
Jameis Winston.
I don't know. I mean, he's definitely an option.
He'll get you at least 9 wins, and with that defense, he's good for double-digit wins.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could see it. I just don't know if that's the route that they really want to go. I feel like that they're going to want somebody that's just a little bit more like composed as a QB and not just
like Joe Flacco. You think they're going to do that again?
No, I don't think they're going to do that again.
That's another guy that they reached out to.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I don't know if that's the best route either. I mean, personally, and this really depends on how things shape up as the season goes on, I think that they could really try to make a push for a QB that's in the league right now. Granted, there's a lot of like stipulations that come with this. The Jets are still in playoff contention by the trade deadline, and there's a few teams that aren't. But if the Rams somehow fall apart, I can see Stafford being gone because I know that they've talked about.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah, I know they've talked about kind of unloading a lot of the veteran pieces anyway. Like Donald's going to be on the trade block if they end up falling apart. Kupp may literally not even play this season, so we'll see how that all plays out. But if he does somehow miraculously end up being back by the trade deadline, he could be somebody that's gone. I've been saying this for the past few months, but I think that the Cardinals are ready to move on from Kyler Murray. I mean, they're going to be fighting for the first overall pick next year, so it's going to be going for Caleb Williams or whatever other QB ends up being in the mix at that point in time.
I don't think anybody's going to compare to Caleb. That dude's
I don't think anybody is either, but I mean, I think that would be a smart move on their part as well, especially in lieu of Rodgers' injury, where the trade negotiation, I forget what the exact numbers were behind it, but it was basically that with the trade, the Jets were going to have to give up either like a first or second round pick, depending on how many snaps that he played or something along those lines.
I think it was technically just the percentage of snaps played.
Yeah. So I mean,
obviously
it was
70%.
Yeah,
that was the number.
It's not going to hit, so they're not going to have to worry about giving up their first round pick, and that could end up going towards a guy like Kyler if they decide to go that route and he's healthy by the trade deadline. So I mean, I think that there's a lot of options. I don't know if I think that they're obviously going to explore external ones right now, see if there's any veterans that just want to come in as a backup, but then as they get closer to the trade deadline and they see themselves as actual playoff contenders, they might look to make like one of those bigger moves. So we'll see how that all shapes out.
So these are some of the free agent quarterbacks. Carson Wentz.
I've seen that name.
Cam Newton. I'm not even going to say this because he keeps popping up.
That's it.
Josh Rosen, Joe Flacco, Matt Ryan, Nick Foles, and the rest of these guys are career backups. And then Jameis is also.
Yeah.
It's not a very appetizing list.
I can see Wentz.
Wentz is probably the best guy on that list.
Yeah, he's definitely the best. I've seen Jacoby Brissett's name getting thrown out a lot too, which honestly, isn't that bad. Grant, given the fact that he
He
kept
is-
the
yeah.
Browns in contention last year.
That's a very interesting. Is he still the backup for them?
No, he's the backup for who now? Oh god, he's the backup for a new team.
Because I personally think that's gonna
That's a good.
end up happening. They're just gonna trade for, because I think like Gardner Minshew could be a solid one.
Yeah. I can
Although
see
I don't think the Colts want to get rid of him because.
he's on the Commanders now.
But yeah, Gardner Minshew is one. Who is the backup for Trevor Lawrence now? So I feel like that was also mentioned.
Oh, I don't know. Backup for sure. Is it a bigger name?
Was it Andy Dalton? No.
No,
It's
I
Kansas.
think Dalton's on the.
Cowboys still?
No, I think he was on like the Panthers.
But he was another name that was possibly
Yeah.
mentioned.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many. I really don't think any of those external ones that we're talking about, the ones that aren't signed right now, I don't think are going to make too much of a bigger difference than what Zach Wilson's going to give you personally.
I don't think Zach Wilson's an NFL quarterback. Maybe a CFL quarterback, but not NFL.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's not good, but I just don't think that any of these other guys are going to come in and just be lights out for them.
Well, they're not asking for lights out. They're asking for a 500 quarterback. With that defense, they'll get you at least 3 more wins. Maybe even 4 more, because, like, there's no reason Zach Wilson, I mean, how many games did Zach Wilson start in last year where they won? Because I know he didn't start every game, so I can't say that
I
he
don't
was a
know.
500
Mike White
quarterback.
was in there
Yeah.
for some time.
Because that's all you're looking for. There's a quarterback to get in there, get 500, and let the defense do what the defense does, because that defense is sick.
Yeah, no, the defense is sick. And you just let the run game do their thing.
That-
I mean,
that's
Brees Hall
it.
and Dalvin Cook
Yeah.
are the crazy ones who punch.
Yeah.
They both looked electric last night, honestly, so.
Even
Yeah.
with Brees Hall coming up short on his 90-something yard
I know,
run, it was
right?
just like, they had the, you got to see the Eli and Peyton pass.
Yeah.
Eli was like, he's out of smoke, he's out of shape, and he's like, oh, he just came back from the injury, that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was some crazy commentary. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. Like, any of those guys would be an upgrade, but I don't think it's
It's not
significant enough.
No, it's not solving, because like realistically, you're not. But like you said, maybe the guy's coming back from injury, but like realistically, right now, you're not going to get one of those guys unless. Who knows?
Yeah. It's something we gotta keep
I can
monitoring
honestly
and
see
see
that
how
happening.
that
I could see
plays
like
out.
next week them be like, oh yeah, we just traded for Matthew Stafford like week 3.
Yeah, no,
They're
I mean,
not even waiting for the
I think-
trade deadline.
I could really see a big trade like that happening. It's just a matter of the situation of that team that has the QB.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it all plays out. There were a couple other major injuries, which is just so unfortunate. But J.K. Dobbins also had an Achilles tear. I mean, this guy just can't stay healthy whatsoever. Honestly, I mean, his career's pretty much done at this point. I mean, like his contract was technically up after this year with the Ravens. They're realistically not going to re-sign him, so he's going to come back as a journeyman running back at some other team, and hopefully get his time to shine there. But his career with the Ravens is done. And then they also lost Marcus Williams to a torn pec, also going to be out for the season. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them, because it seems like every year they just have like multiple starters just gone in like the first 2 weeks. I don't know.
Maybe it's their training staff.
Yeah, the training staff's got to figure it out, because I don't understand how this like continuously keeps happening year after year. It's always the Ravens.
It does always seem like they're, because like they always start with like, yeah, we got this guy, they're starting running back. Next thing you know, Gus Edwards and whoever else is always the backup coming in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a fucking shit show there. I mean, they ended up scrapping together a win. It wasn't pretty, but they were playing the
Yeah,
Texans.
Lamar didn't look very Lamar-like.
Yeah, no, it was an interesting game. I mean, granted, missing
Nobody-
his number one target.
Nobody looked good week 1, honestly. Everybody but Tyreek Hill.
No, I mean, there were some good games for sure, but
There was 3 games where both teams scored over 20 points.
yeah. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say good games, but there were teams that looked dominant for sure.
Oh yeah, true.
Like, I mean, the Dolphins, granted, were one of them. I mean, Tyreek Hill is an absolute animal. I mean, he's realistically the best weapon in the NFL.
He's just so fast. It's incredible.
crazy.
It's so incredible.
I mean, they pulled up a stat of like, it was like 10, all-pro wide receivers that didn't even combine for his stat line in week 1. It was absurd.
Mm-hmm.
He's just an animal. Yeah, I mean, they're, especially with how last night's game played out, I think that they could almost be considered the favorites in that division because Rodgers going down, the Jets obviously are not taking that division, and Josh Allen just did not look good.
Nope.
I mean, he was just a turnover machine, so he's going to have to figure that all out, and I mean, Bills defense, you're literally playing against Zach Wilson the entire game. You'd think you'd have a little bit better of a game, honestly, against him. I mean, granted they were running the ball a lot, but I just don't see them being the clear-cut number 1 in that division right now.
Yeah, I agree
The
with
Dolphins are electric.
that. Yeah.
Tua looks fire. Jalen Waddle was on fire, and then Tyreek Hill's literally the best weapon in the NFL right now. So.
I agree.
Yeah. We can also just jump into a lot of the different contracts. So within the past few weeks leading up to the season, some players got heavily paid. I mean, like literally before week 1 started, Nick Bosa, Joe Burrow, and TJ Hawkinson all became the highest paid player at their positions respectively. All massive contracts. It's pretty crazy, like where the money's going in the NFL. And I'm pretty sure I saw something recently where the NFL's value, like with all 32 teams, like franchises collective, are more than the other 2 major sports combined, or something ridiculous. Like it was a crazy stat. Which I can believe because there's a lot of money going into the NFL between just like the contracts, but then also like ticket sales and just values of the teams in general. It's pretty nuts. But yeah, I mean it's good to see all these guys getting paid. I also like how, for the most part, the NFL is kind of trending towards these like shorter term but really high value contracts where it's like you're paying these guys during their peak performance, like while they're at their, they're in their prime pretty much.
I mean, it's also because football is the shortest lifespan.
Yeah, for sure.
Or career.
But even
lifespan doesn't sound right. Career span.
Yeah, career span. Like you could say lifespan too. I feel like that works. But I mean, even for a guy like Joe Burrow, like he only got a 5-year contract, which that's not that much.
Football though, like that's just how it works.
Yeah.
Like who knows what's gonna happen to Joe Burrow in 5 years?
No, I know. I mean,
like for at least other sports, you can be like, yeah, you're pretty sure he's gonna be playing at the same level he is in 5 years. Like you don't know what the hell's gonna happen on a football field.
No, I mean I agree, but I think I like the way that is going better because that way you don't get locked into the crazy contract with the player and then you're shit out of luck if they end up getting a season-ending injury and you're just guaranteed like all this money towards them. Chris Jones ended up also finally signing his contract, so he didn't end up playing in week 1, which was a pretty brutal loss for the Chiefs. I mean, their wide receiver core just looked absolutely abysmal. They didn't have Travis Kelce playing out there, which was, I think, still a smart move regardless of their loss. I mean, granted, if he was playing, I think that they probably would have won that game, but you never really know, and it was just a smarter play for them to sit him out the first week and just let him get healthy for the remainder of the season. But my God, that wide receiver core was disgusting. And then also with Chris Jones not being in the mix, I think that it was pretty clear that there was a hole there because they were able to just run on them like crazy between Montgomery and then Gibbs looked pretty electric as well during that game.
Yeah.
So he
Wish they give Gibbs a few more touches though.
Yeah, but I saw a stat that like it was showing all of pretty much the superstar running backs in the league, and I think it was one other player, I can't even remember who it was off the top of my head. One other player had more carries than Gibbs in their first career start. So Gibbs was second with 7, which was like actually pretty promising. And he looked electric in those 7.
Every touch he had, he looked electric.
Like that's what I'm saying. Anytime he touched the ball,
I thought
looked amazing.
Bijan had more than 7 rushes.
Bijan, honestly, this was a stat that came out before that. But Yeah, because they had the Thursday night game. It came out like Friday or Saturday that I saw that. I think Bijan probably did escalate that, but
Oh, like
Besides-
it's got to be like Zeke probably.
besides him, that might have been something I had sent you. Let me see real quick. But it was just pretty nuts to see that because I mean he is such a good player. So I'm excited to see where his season and career goes. The only thing that just scares me is that it's the same situation as it was last year where Gibbs is just in the Swift role and Montgomery is just in the Williams role, and I think that they're going to cannibalize each other, but Montgomery is going to get the goal line touches for the most part. The only thing that's going in Gibbs' favor is that he's just such a better running back than Swift, so he's going to be more efficient.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Jamal Williams did win me his fantasy championship last year, so.
yeah, no, I mean he's a beast, and I think Montgomery's going to do just as well this year. Personally, I mean he looked pretty good in his runs.
He did, but like he only averaged like not even 3.5 yards a carry. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's
Whatever
gonna
it
get
was,
the
it was like a.
touches for sure.
Oh, he definitely seems like he is, but whatever it was a subpar rushing game, in my opinion. But yeah, he's definitely getting the touches, which is like fine. It makes sense. Like you don't want to. I mean, from a fan perspective, I love that. But the same with the Falcons. Like Bijan's getting touches, but they're still letting Algier run,
Yeah.
and it really doesn't make sense. Especially now looking at it, like you're pretty much looking at it like you got this guy for 4 years. You might as well keep him as safe as you can for 4 years because it's not like they're signing these guys after.
Yeah, no, for real. Yeah, I mean, I think that to your point, I think that Dan Campbell and Arthur Smith are kind of taking pages out of the same book of we're going to be a run first team, have multiple backs that we can kind of just flip flop. Don't try to do too much. I mean, they know. I mean, Jared Goff's obviously he's an NFL quarterback for sure. I can't say the same for Desmond Ritter, but I think that they are just trying to play small ball and they're just going to keep running down the gut, throw off play action, and let their defense do their thing for the most part. I mean, I don't think either of them have like a top 5 defense, but they definitely have top 15 defenses. It seems like going into the season. So I think that that's what's going to get them through, and just being in the NFC and their respective divisions where there's no like clear cut, division juggernaut like how there is with the Niners being in the NFC West and the Eagles and Cowboys being in the East. It's not the same for the South and the North there, so I think that they know that and can kind of use that to just keep gutting out these wins here and there. So we'll see how that all plays out. I think it is pretty crazy going back to the whole Rodgers thing, I imagine what would have happened if like Trey Lance hadn't been traded already, but he ended up going to the Cowboys. I'm curious to see if that would have been a player that, they could have ended up trying to trade for. Because I still think that he...
2 and 3 pick from the same year and they both suck. That would be fucking comedy.
I still want to see what Lance has in the tank because, he's just pretty much been injury ridden. He hasn't like really, really had an opportunity with a multiple game stretch, I would say.
You got drafted 2 years ago?
Yeah. 2 years ago, was behind Jimmy G, was supposed to get into the starting job last year and got hurt in the first game.
Okay, yeah.
And then got beat out in preseason by Purdy because, that kid balls. So
Yeah.
it's understandable, for sure. I think that he still does have something left in the tank. Or something to prove, at least, I should say. Not even something left in the tank. I think that there's a possibility he could be a legitimate NFL QB. Who knows? Curious. I guess with the Cowboys, they just want to see how Dak plays out. They know they have realistically the top defense in the league. So if Dak doesn't show that he's the franchise guy anymore, and they want to try and throw Lance out there to see if he has something in him to be that franchise guy for them, and so be it. But it was definitely an interesting move, I thought, for the Cowboys to go after him because obviously they have Dak. I feel like if you're making that kind of move, you're doing it to see if he could be the franchise guy.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
Or just in the case that he does get hurt again because he's a little injury prone, it seems like.
Yeah, no, that's fair too. I think that also they they know that the Super Bowl windows are always pretty short. You're not, a real. It's not like you're the Patriots or the Chiefs where you're having like you're forming a dynasty. So
Dynasties, yeah.
I think that they know that they need to try and win it right now. So I guess in that sense, it was a pretty smart move for them. But it would have been pretty interesting to see if he hadn't been traded yet and could have potentially gone to the Jets, because who knows, that could have been something that catapulted them back into the legitimate playoff race as well. We could go through also Jonathan Taylor. So ends up not getting traded, and I forget how the situation unfolded technically, but ended up having to be starting off on the PUP list for the beginning of the season. So he's out for the first 4 games. Already missed the first one. Pretty clear that their running game was Anthony Richardson, so they're going to need him back desperately. But I'm curious to see if, in light of like what happened with the Ravens and what's realistically going to happen with the rest of the NFL. I mean, injuries are, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, especially in the running back core. So having a healthy JT coming in week 5 with looming injuries that are really going to end up appearing. I'm curious to see if they end up going back to the trade route with them. What we're going to say with that.
Hopefully they keep him. I love seeing Richardson play together.
Yeah, I think that would be a pretty cool 1-2 combo, especially again in that division. It's really just the Jaguars, I would say, that are like a real threat. I don't know if the Titans really still have it in them. I mean, they could still, I guess, make the playoff push. I think Vrabel's a great coach, and with Henry and Hopkins, you have a pretty good running back wide receiver toy there for Tannehill. But I think like just in terms of the youth movement in the NFL and like how things shape up towards the end of the season, I think that Richardson and JT would be a pretty cool combo to watch. And then also with Pittman and Pierce, like they have a pretty young offense if everything plays out the way it should. I guess going into like the college world as well. So like we were saying, Caleb Williams still lighting the world on fire. I mean, he's realistically going to be the number 1 pick. But I don't know if you had saw like all those rumors with him and his dad having conversations about like if he's not in the right situation, then they might just not like put him into the NFL draft essentially.
I was thinking about that. They're still going to put him in. He's just going to go get drafted by a team and be like, I'm not going to play for you.
Yeah.
Which it's not like it's not happened before. I know Eli did it. Who else did it after him? I think Drew Brees was another one. Right? Drew Brees was drafted by the Saints.
I don't think that was like the situation with him though. He definitely didn't, because I'm pretty sure he did play with the Chargers.
He did play with them
for a little stint, but yeah, no, I mean I definitely know what you mean. It's an apparent thing in the NFL. I don't know, how do you feel about that though? Because I mean the whole point of like having a top pick is obviously to get a franchise guy that's going to turn you around. I mean, obviously all these guys in college have to realize that it's not like you could just pick and choose what team you want to be on just because like if they're a shitty team, like, no, I don't want to play for them.
For 99.9% of college players, yes. This kid, he's already doing Wendy's commercials. He's already in the Heisman commercials with all these fucking dudes. Like this guy, they've already put him on the pedestal.
Yeah.
So he gets to dictate what he does. 99% of first round picks, you're shit out of luck. You're going to that team, but this guy can fucking be like, dude, I'm not going to play here, and nobody's gonna have a say in it. Like he's that good. So like it's
an interesting thing though because again, for the most part, the NFL is dictated by the QB, right? So teams that are good are not going to have the high draft pick, and more times than not, they're going to be good because they have a good QB. So you're realistically going to end up having to go to a shittier team regardless. I mean, the teams that end up at the bottom of the totem pole are the teams that have no QB. I mean, you look at, going into the season, the two that were seen as probably fighting for that spot were the Cardinals, which I still think are realistically going to end up with that pick, and the Buccaneers, who ended up scrapping together a win against the Vikings. again, I still think that the Buccaneers will end up being one of those top picks, but what other teams really that are at that like bottom end of the totem pole there do you think would end up with the top pick that would need a QB, or just like teams that are QB needy in general that would just he would get thrown into the mix right away? I guess you could say the Jets, but I don't think that they're going to be anywhere close to having a top pick.
Well, now they're going to still have their first round pick to use, so maybe
Yeah.
they'll be able to trade that away. That's the other thing. They're going to trade multiple first round picks. You're going to get 3-4 first round picks for this guy, if not game ready players, Pro Bowl players.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just going through. Let me go through the NFL standings real quick. So, Jets realistically could end up needing it, but the Dolphins, I would assume, ride with Tua. Patriots are going to ride with Mac. Bills, Josh Allen. Browns, Deshaun Watson. Ravens, Lamar. Bengals, Burrow. Steelers, Pickett. Jaguars, Lawrence. Maybe the Titans if they completely fall apart, but I don't really see that happening. The Colts, Richardson. The Texans, Stroud. Maybe the Raiders if they end up falling apart too. Actually, that'd be kind of a cool team. I feel like.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean that just depends on how everything shapes out with Jimmy G, but they ended up winning the first game anyway. Obviously, Chiefs with Mahomes, Broncos with Wilson. I mean, I don't see that. I don't even, do they even have their first round pick with the trade? I don't even think they do.
Who?
The Broncos?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely don't with that trade with the Seahawks. I feel like they definitely gave up 2 first round picks, which would have been last year and this year. Chargers, Herbert. Cowboys, Prescott. Maybe the Commanders. I don't know. I mean, that's Commanders, Eagles, Hurts, Giants. I mean, I'd love it if they fucking drafted him, but they just gave Jones $160 million, so that's not happening. Love, Goff, Cousins, Fields. I can see the Falcons, I guess. I don't know. We're really looking at like 5 teams that would like realistically be a QB needy team, and they're all going to be at the bottom of the totem pole anyway. So he's going to end up having to go to one of them realistically. I guess just in terms of college in general, we also just have Colorado. Is it Buffaloes? Is that what they're called? Yeah, they're absolutely on fire right now. They're really fun to watch. Have you been checking out any of their games?
No, I just know Coach Brown.
Yeah, they've been electric these past 2 games. I mean, they pretty much went from like being unranked coming into the season to, I think they're at 19 now. His son Shadar is absolutely fucking killing it. I mean, he's already, I think, top 3 in like Kuiper's big draft board for like QBs, so he's gonna be right up there. And if he just keeps doing well, I mean, he could end up being like that second QB drafted. And then Travis Hunter is just an absolute animal. I mean, I don't know if he's actually going to be eligible for the draft in this upcoming draft, or if he would.
Oh, what do you need, 2 or 3 years?
I think
football?
you need at least 2, but I don't know if he would even go into the draft after the season anyway. But he's just absolutely lighting the world on fire. I mean, he's going to be up there for the Heisman as well if he keeps playing like this. I mean, it's pretty crazy that like, I don't know any other players that have really been like 2-way players like that throughout college and then potentially going into the NFL.
Never.
Right?
Because no coach has ever been like, yeah. Deion Sanders is like, you can play both? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, you got this.
Yeah.
Most coaches are like, you're on the field for 50 touches? That's more than enough. Prime is like, you can do 200.
No, literally. I think he literally did like 120 or 130. Which is
Yeah,
nuts.
that's so ridiculous.
It's absolutely nuts.
Most coaches are like, we want to protect this guy's health. Deion Sanders does not give a shit.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. I mean, they're fun to watch. I know that they have a game against USC. I think it's September 30th. So that's going to be pretty sick to see them go up against Caleb Williams. Definitely going to try and tune in for that game.
Coach Prime.
Coach Prime. You want to recap the Hall of Fame candidates coming in for this upcoming season?
Oh, yeah. So they released the finalists. They released 40 names. Some of these guys I've never even heard of.
Really?
Yeah. And then some of the guys, it's like, oh shit, Greg grew up with that guy. Let's see. So, this is the players that are eligible this year that like just got put on the ballot. Julius Peppers, Antonio Gates, Eric Berry, Haloti Nada, Jamal Charles, Brandon Marshall, Andrew Luck, and Jordy Nelson. Dwight Freeney is also on here. Last year, he was technically on the ballot. Devin Hester, he was a finalist and somehow didn't get it, which I find very shocking.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking. I mean, he's one of the best special teams specialists there ever was. So yeah, I think he's definitely gonna end up getting in there for sure.
Let's see. Steve Smith is another one.
Oh, he's definitely getting in there.
Yeah, and then Reggie Wayne definitely be in there.
He's just getting in there. No, he's not. This isn't his first time being on the ballot. Right.
It has to be.
Think?
Reggie
He's
Wayne?
been out of the league for a while.
I feel the same way, but like, you think he wasn't picked his first year on the ballot?
I mean, that's why I'm pretty shocked if he wasn't, but I just don't understand how this would be his first year. I mean, I feel like he's been out of the league longer than that. If he's on the same ballot as Andrew Luck, Andrew Luck's been out of the league for, I mean, what, 8 years?
Pretty sure Andrew Luck was throwing Reggie Wayne. Let's see. So the 480 members we select each year. Oh shit, I guess so. He retired in 2014.
Wow. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah. So on this list, Andre Johnson is also eligible. DeMarcus Ware, also eligible.
Yeah.
Rondé Barber, still eligible. But these guys were all eligible last year. This isn't their first year on the list.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a few of those names that you just said will definitely get on the ballot this year.
Oh, 100%.
So we'll see how that plays out. When do they officially announce the finalists?
I want to say the week of the Super Bowl.
Oh, really? So I missed some time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought that would be a little bit sooner, but I guess that makes sense.
Let's see. Yeah, I think so. Well, what else we got? That's about it.
So I mean, the only other thing I guess we could really just talk about is week one recap as teams in general. Like, who were your surprises? Who were your disappointments?
Oh. Can't say anything really shocked me.
I mean, I would say, I think that one of the more shocking games, which, I guess it makes sense in hindsight, but I wasn't expecting the Browns to completely beat down on the Bengals like that. I mean, I don't know if you saw the stat line between
Well, that was
Chase.
Joe Burrow's first game of the. He had no preseason games.
Yeah, but that doesn't really matter.
That's a lot. I feel like getting behind the QB in an actual game is a lot. Even if you're doing it for one drive in the preseason, you still got out there.
Yeah, but so they said this during the Lions-Chiefs game because Jared Goff's first drive was awful. Was pretty bad, and he was one of 8 starting QBs that didn't take any snaps or anything during the preseason. But that ended up only being one drive of shakiness. You kind of assume that guys would bounce back pretty quickly.
But at the same time, Bengals did start off 0-2 last year.
True. No, I mean I don't think that it's gonna mean a whole lot for the entire season, but I do think that the fact, they scored 3 points,
Week 1 is never an indication of how the season is going to go.
No, not at
I
all.
don't think in any situation.
But I'm just saying, I just think it was still a shocking game for sure. And then on the flip side of it, how hot Deshaun Watson came out. I mean, I think that he looked pretty electric and can honestly be kind of the caliber player that he was going like when he was on the Texans.
Did we watch the same game?
Was he not good?
He had 150 passing yards.
No, I thought he did a lot better than that. No.
Fantasy-wise, maybe, because he scored the rushing touchdown, but like,
Yeah. But I mean, also their defense did carry a lot of their game because of.
yeah.
So I mean, he didn't like have to completely show up, but I think that he still like did well. I mean,
I don't know, 150 passing yards is not anything to write home about.
no, but I'm saying he just like looked good as a player, like out there for realistically, you know. I mean, he played a little bit towards the end of the season last year, but I think that just coming back full season this year, I think he's still gonna be a threat realistically.
Yeah. 16 to 29, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Yeah. 5 rushes for 45 yards.
I don't know. I guess we'll see how it all plays out.
I mean, I hope he does good. I think I got him in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't. Actually, the one game that kind of did surprise me was the Rams and Seahawks.
Yeah, that was a surprising game for sure too.
Everything else, and maybe the Packers. I guess Jordan Love is legit.
Yeah.
Other than that, everything kind of made sense.
Yeah, the Rams game actually was very surprising because I think that everyone thought that Seattle was going to be this powerhouse team again, and they did not look that way at all.
I mean, also thought everybody thought the Rams were just going to be god awful.
Yeah, and on the flip side, I think everyone thought that as well. So, no, I think that's the thing. I think the Rams look kind of promising. I mean, I wonder if they're regretting having traded Ramsey, especially because they got him for. I mean, they gave him up for like nothing. So I don't know. They could end up being
Who knows?
pretty good for their defense going forward. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how things shape up. It's again, like you said, just week 1, but I think those were some of the surprise games for sure. And then obviously, fucking Giants and Cowboys was pretty fucking disappointing, especially being a Giants fan. I mean, I did not think that they were gonna come out that awful week 1. I mean, that was just abysmal.
I mean, I figured they were going to lose. Maybe not that bad. But,
No, I mean that was the biggest shutout in both of their franchise histories.
The Cowboys defense was the second highest scoring fantasy team this year, or fantasy player this
Behind-
week.
Yeah, literally behind Hill.
Yeah, who had 200 fucking yards. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was actually nuts. I mean, they just were absolutely dominating us. It was just so hard to watch. We looked promising that first drive, and then that first kick went south, and it just never got better. Oh my god. Yeah, but yeah, I think we kind of close it up there unless you got anything else you wanted to mention. All right. Yeah, I think we're all set then. We'll see y'all next week.